Marxist critical theory. Marxist critical theory, as the name suggests, is influenced by the German philosopher Karl Marx. It's a larger theory, of course, as we have been discussing earlier also, that a literary theory is part of a larger life theory. Marxist theory is all pervading, it's economic basically, it's sociological, it is philosophical, and it is applied in literature also. So, in Marxist literary theory, class conflict, class distinctions are studied. Literature, when a piece of literature, a novel, a poem appears, a Marxist theorist will study class distinctions in that text. They will use the traditional literary tools, the traditional tools of thought, content and plot and characterization. They will use the traditional classical rules of critical appreciation. But what they will study? They will study economic class. That how, what social message, what political message is going through this work. Whether this work is for the elite, whether this work speaks for the working classes, and what is the ultimate message of this work. They undervalue aesthetics. That is an important feature of Marxist literary theory, that they do not give much importance to artistic beauty. Artistic beauty, it is subordinate. What is most important? The most important thing is whether the work of literature represents the concerns of the working classes or not. Whether it is sincere towards the working class or not. Whether it depicts economic inequality or not. That is their concern. The totalizing spirit of Marxist theory. And that is the spirit of this literary theory. Then they go into the economic production of a book. There is a huge side to the commercial, a huge commercial side to the production of literature. Books are published in bulk by reputed publishing houses. How they are reputed, what are their standards, and what are the violation of those standards, and how books are produced, and how books are then proliferated, how the reach of the book. So there is an economic side to book production. So the Marxist theorists, they study the economic side of book production thoroughly. It is their style is, their technique is called cultural materialism. Cultural materialism, the physical, material and economic aspect of book production. The physical, where the author is situated. The material, to which economic class the author belongs. What is the life experience, what is the life comfort, what is the life luxury of the author. That comes into picture. That is what they study. It was Hungarian theorist George Lucas who began it. And then we have Frankfurt School of Philosophers who popularized it, Walter Benjamin, Marx Horkheimer, Theodor Adorno, Herbert Marcuse. they were, and others also, Frankfurt School of Philosophers, who religiously followed Marxist literary theory. In Europe, they studied cultural heritage as against mass culture. They said that Europe has very distinct artistic connoisseurs, that Europe has a very distinct, a very sophisticated cultural heritage. But capitalism creates jazz, pop, Hollywood films, advertising. It is the production of art is like a factory, and there is mass production of art, and people are taken as consumers, just as consumers. So mass production of art, that is what they study. That it is for the entertainment of the entitled class. That is what they say, that this art is all for thrill, it is a commodity, it is just a form, and it is for mass consumption. These are the things that Marxist literary theorists study. What novels are in vogue? What novels are popular? Why are they popular? How novels are being produced in bulk like that? One genre. So it is a kind of factory feeling for them. Raymond Williams and Terry Eagleton, a very big authority in the critical field. They were from Britain, and Frank Latricia and Frederick Jameson from America. They popularized this theory, they practiced this theory, they just they swear by it, they just do it, they just believe in it. Marxist literary theory. As I said, that it is influenced by the philosophy of Karl Marx. Karl Marx, as we all know, is the German philosopher, sociologist, economist from 1818 to 1883. And Das Kapital and the Communist Manifesto, his famous books. He was a very powerful philosopher, and as a result we had USSR, which broke later on. We had China, the socialist world, the communist world. The world was divided into two, the capitalist world, the democratic world, and the communist world, the whole Cold War era. And it's a big story. It's a big sociological, political, economic story. So he divided the world into two parts, and we still have communist regimes in this world. And the practical side of Marxism went, to my mind, it's my personal opinion, that the practical side, the practical experimentation of Marxism went horribly wrong. It resulted in dictatorships, and dictatorships are against human nature. Human nature wants freedom. Human nature wants creativity. So dictatorships stifle you. They suffocate you. You don't feel free. Nobody is happy. They are joy killers. So Marxist experimentation in reality on the practical side went horribly wrong. They have such poor human rights record, you see. Like, for example, in our country, it may be a rickshaw puller, maybe a helper will stand and say that Sarkar ko ye nahi karna chahiye, mere vichar se. He is full of authority. He may not be rich, but he is full of authority. He has a say in the system. He has a stake in the system. He has a vote to give. The power lies with everyone. So that satisfaction is not there in a dictatorship. That I accept. But, and personally speaking, like I can never be a Marxist because Karl Marx was against religion, and I identify myself as an ancient Sanatan soul. I cannot live without worshipping. I cannot live without scriptures. I cannot do that. So I can never be a Marxist. But my rational side should not reject valid points of the Marxist philosophy. For example, Marx said that in production there are several factors. When you start a factory, when you start something, a mass production somewhere of any good, of any item, there are several factors that contribute to it. What are those factors? Land, the technical know-how, the scientific know-how, land is required, labor is required, and money is also required. So of all the requirements, money is just one requirement. But when it comes to profit, the whole of the profit goes to the capitalist. Why should it be so? Why should the profit go to the capitalist only? So that was a question that Marx raised, and it was a valid question. And as long as there is human hunger, जब तक भी कोई एक भी इंसान भूखा है, लोग ये बोलेंगे कि मार्क्स ने ऐसा कहा था. There is validity. So when we analyze literature, when we analyze art, we may not depend on Marxist theory completely, but at the same time, we cannot ignore certain aspects. We cannot ignore that it is true at least in some measures. It is valid at least in some measures. We may reject, he said religion is the opium of the masses, and he was against spirituality. He didn't consider that factor at all. So we cannot accept that is unacceptable. But as far as his inequality slogan goes, as far as his the humanitarian side of Marxism, after all, what are they asking for? They are asking for equal treatment. The practical might have gone wrong, but the theory has some rationality to it, some validity to it. So when we analyze literary texts, we should study economic inequalities into it to some measures. It is not that we should ignore aesthetic beauty, that we cannot do, but economic inequalities, we should have an eye towards the economic production of books that gives us a realistic view, that enhances our understanding of the whole scenario. So this is how Marxist theory goes, and as I have been saying, all theories run into parallels. That every theory has at least an iota of truth in it. So it finally adds to human knowledge, human understanding of this world. So this is for today. We will continue. Thank you.